All right, Pinhead, your time is up.
Who you calling Pinhead?
Hey, howdy, hey, mother shuckers. It's me, Blackout. Last week I talked about the boy who screamed bubbles, and at the end of the video, I talk about this walking, talking voodoo doll and how a roly-poly gives me more nightmares than this guy. Ever since I was a kid and started getting into horror, HellRaiser has always been the guy me and a bunch of friends laughed at for not being scary. I don't know if horror is something that they kept in mind, but what I do know is that it's gory. Freddy Krueger gets jealous at the fact that this guy can spill more blood than a phlebotomist in a blood bank. If there's something you need to know about this guy, it's this. He's got more lore than the Souls games. If we use Wikipedia for a second, we can see that Pinhead was a British soldier who held the rank of captain named Elliot Spencer, who, to my understanding, developed PTSD from his time in World War I. So what did he do? He called upon the Cenobites to join his ranks. Now, if you're like me and have a brain the size of a piece of shredded cheese, you're probably scratching your head and stroking your chin at the word Cenobite. No, it's not a John Cena fan. It's actually not even anywhere close to that. If anything, it sounds like some badass arcade game from the 80s. And again, it's not. Cenobites are extra-dimensional beings who exist in an extra-dimensional realm. Great. So they moved in from Area 51. Awesome. Now that we're caught up to speed, let's take a look at Pinhead, the man, the myth, the masochist. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that he's a kinky bitch. This horny human pincushion gets his rocks off on pain and humiliation of other people, and hell, based off the definition, maybe himself. I mean, he wears that leather coat looking thing with what I'm assuming were his nipples cut out in it, so we can tell that he was into something that not even the hub would deem normal. And it's not just him that has these sadomasochistic tendencies, it's all of these Cenobites. It's also implied that the Cenobites were humans before being transported into hell by opening their cursed puzzle box, and by doing that, they now serve as members of the Order of the Gash. And what's that? Just a gaggle fuck of demons, also known as Cenobites. So to sum it up, once they play with these demonic Rubik's Cubes, they go from a single Cenobite to a mafia of them. Props for the name though. The name The Order of the Gash sounds wicked. So what's the plot? IMDb says the following for the 1987 movie. A woman discovers the newly resurrected, partially formed body of her brother-in-law. She starts killing for him to revitalize his body so he can escape the demonic beings that are pursuing him after he escaped their sadistic underworld. Okay, so take the main plot of Freddy vs. Jason. That being, Freddy brings Jason back to life to kill for him because Freddy is a weak-ass beta bitch if people aren't scared of him. That's what we're dealing with here. Except she's taking out lives to save her brother-in-laws. Well, that's kind of selfish, ain't it? Just imagine explaining that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta like take out your grandma because like my brother-in-law is having weird shit happen to him in hell, so sound good? If we look at the two sequels, Hellraiser 2 and 3, Pinhead was drawn to the box while he was getting a higher pain tolerance. I mean, this dude Frank Cotton was being turned into shredded chicken after discovering the box on his way to Morocco, and Pinhead was sitting there all cozy and nonchalant. Now this upcoming part strikes me a bit based off what was said. In Hellraiser 3, it spends a lot of the movie exploring human suffering and war. He states the following, and pay attention to what was said. We'd seen God fail us. So many dead. For us, he too fell at Flanders. The war destroyed my generation. Those that didn't die drank themselves to death. I went further. I was an explorer of forbidden pleasures. Opening the box was my final act of exploration, of discovery. I say fuck the horror aspect. This guy should be a writer. I'm gonna be serious for a second though. I felt the heaviness in his heart through that. Me being a veteran, I've spoke to many other veterans who do combat some sort of addiction after they get out of the military. It's a sad thing to see because you have some veterans that understand that war is hell, but other veterans blame themselves for the losses of their brothers and sisters in combat. I will forever have your back. Now, back to the jokes. Clive Barker, the director of the 1987 film, wanted to show that Pinhead was pierced all over his body. There's two things I need to say about that. First of all, I don't need to know if this fucking bowling pin has a Prince Charles or not. For those that don't know what it is, Good. Second, the Cenobites are genderless entities, so even if that were the case, how would that work out when it comes to the piercings? I mean, fatherly.com says that nipples are kind of like genitals, so would it be everything except nipples? Is that why Pinhead has his ripped off? This is going to keep me up at night, isn't it? This is where the story ends. In HellRaiser Judgment, it shows that Pinhead is simping over the big G upstairs, but it doesn't end up in a big love bat or blowout, but ends up in Pinhead taking one of God's little helpers because he was trying to take out Pinhead Larry's latest victim. And because of this, a serial killer becomes D&D by the GOD because he was going to initially use this killer's actions as a tool to instill fear against sinners. And with God being a wrathful one, he takes away Pinhead's BDSM time, and that's it. Let's talk about something with this. The fact that God had to use a person who's been overnight shipping people to him as a scare tactic is kind of pointless. I'm not religious anymore, but the fear of hell alone got people to pray and put money on a dinner plate every Sunday. I don't see why God had to use someone else to keep the fear hot. Also, that's a big dick play against Pinhead. Essentially treating Earth as a giant timeout corner so Pinhead can't torture people is like taking nicotine away from a smoker. Oh, before I end the video, do I find Pinhead scary? Well, if pain is something I'm scared of, sure, but no. I think hearing the Windows 10 notifications sound unpromptly is scarier than this guy. Well, I hope you all did enjoy the video. If you can, please tap that like and sub button so you don't end up discovering a demonic Rubik's Cube and being tortured for the rest of your life. Even if you're into it, you don't want that. And in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how Chucky is more real than what you think. That's kind of... what? And as always, I'm your host with the most, going live from overseas to coast blackout, going dark. I will see all of you in the next one. Keep it brutal, keep each other safe. Until next time, later.